Hello guys, so welcome to my channel, and to those who are new to my channel, on my channel, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and share this video to your colleagues also. So in today's video, I will be discussing on the issue of K-12 educational system of the Philippines. So first question is, what are the issues and concerns on the implementation of K-12 in the Philippines? When it comes to influence, the educational system of the Philippines has been affected immensely by country's colonial history, including the Spanish period, American period and Japanese rule, and the occupation itself. Now, although having been significantly influenced by all its colonizers with regard to the educational system, the most influential and deep-rooted contributions arose during the American occupation in 1898. So it was during this aforementioned period that English was introduced as the primary language of instruction, and public education system was first established, a system specifically patterned after the United States school system and further administered by the newly established Department of Instruction. So similar to the United States of America, the Philippines has had an extensive and extremely inclusive system of education, including features such as higher education. The present Philippine educational system firstly covers 6 years of compulsory education. So that came from grades 1 to 6, divided informally into the two levels, both composed of 3 years. So the first level is known as the primary level, and the second level is known as the intermediate level. However, although the Philippine educational system has extensively been a model for other Southeast Asian countries in recent years, such a matter that has no longer stood true, and such a system has been deteriorated. Such a fact is especially evident and true in the country's more secluded, poverty-stricken regions. Now, nationwide, the Philippines faces several issues when it comes to the educational system. First is the quality of education. First of which is that the quality of education, in the year 2014, the National Achievement Test and the National Career Assessment Examination, or NCAE, results show that there had been a decline in the quality of Philippine education at the elementary and secondary levels. So the students' performance in both the 2014 NAT and NCAE were excessively below the target mean score. Having said this, the poor quality of Philippine educational system is manifested in the comparison of completion rates between highly urbanized city of Metro Manila. So which is also happens to be not only the country's capital but the largest metropolitan area in the Philippines and other places in the country, such as Mindanao and Eastern Visayas. Although Manila is able to boast a primary school completion rate of approximately 100%, other areas of the nation, such as Eastern Visayas and Mindanao, hold primary school completion rate of only 30% or even less. This kind of statistics is no surprise to the educational system of the Philippines. The context in here that students from Philippine urban areas have the financial capacity to complete at the very least their primary school education. So the budget for education, the second issue in here, that the Philippine educational system faces is the budget for education. Although it has been mandated by the Philippine Constitution for the government to allocate the highest proportion of its government to education, but the Philippines remains to have one of the lowest budget allocations to education, among ASEAN countries. So affordability of education is one thing in here. The third prevalent issue of the Philippine educational system continuously encounters is the affordability of education or lack thereof. So a big disparity in educational achievements is evident across various social groups. So the socioeconomically disadvantaged students, otherwise known as students, who are members of high and low income poverty-stricken families, have immensely higher dropout rates in the elementary level. Additionally, most freshman students at the tertiary level come from relatively well-off families. Another part in here is the dropout rate, out of school youth. So, what Franz Castro, the Secretary of Alliance of Concerned Teachers and ACT, stated that there is a grave need to address the alarming number of out-of-school youth in the country. So the Philippines overall has 1.4 million students who are out of school according to UNESCO's data, and is additionally the only ASEAN country that is included in the top 5 countries with the highest number of out-of-school youth. In 2012, the Department of Education showed the data of 6.38 dropout rate in primary school and 7.82% dropout rate in secondary school. Castro further stated that the increasing number of out-of-school children is being caused by poverty. So the price increase in prices of oil, electricity, rice, water, and other basic commodities are further pushing the poor into the poverty. So subsequently, as more families become poorer, the number of students enrolled in the public schools increases, especially in the high school level. So in 2013, the Department of Education estimated that there are 38,503 elementary schools alongside 7,470 high school. So that is the one point in here. Mismatch is another. So there is a large mismatch between the educational training and actual jobs. This stands to be a major issue at the tertiary level, and it is furthermore the cause of the continuation of substantial amount of educated yet unemployed or underemployed people. According to the Dean of Salvador Bellario Jr. of the Cornell Educated Congressman representing one of the educational party list in the House of Representatives, the number of educated unemployed reaches around 600,000 per year. So that is a high number. So he refers to sad condition as to the education gap. So the next part in here is the brain drain. Brain drain is a persistent problem evident in the educational system of the Philippines due to the modern phenomenon of globalization, with a number of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs who work abroad at any time during the period from April to September 2014 was estimated to 2.3 million. So this ongoing mass emigration subsequently inducts an unparalleled brain drain alongside grave economic implications. So additionally, Philippine society here footing the bill for the education of millions who successively spend their more productive years abroad. Thus, the already poor educational system of the Philippines indirectly subsidizes the opulent economies who host the OFWs. Next one is the social divide. There exists the problematic and distinct social cleavage with regard to educational opportunities in the country. So most modern societies have encountered an equalizing effect on the subject of education. This aforementioned divide in the social system has made education become part of the institutional mechanism that creates the division between the poor and the rich. So lack of facilities and teachers, shortage in the public schools, there are large-scale shortages of facilities across Philippine public schools. These teachers, desks and chairs, textbooks, and audio, video materials, according to 2003 Department of Education Undersecretary Juan Miguel Luz, reportedly over 17 million students are enrolled in the Philippine public schools, and at an annual population growth rate of 2.3%, about 1.7 million babies are born every year, which means that there are few years times more individuals will assert ownership over their share of the limited educational provisions. To sum it up, there are too many students and too little resources, albeit the claims the government makes on increasing the allotted budget for education. There is a prevalent difficulty the public school system faces with regard to the two shortages. So furthermore, state universities and colleges gradually raise tuition to ask to have a means of purchasing facilities, thus making tertiary education difficult to assess, or more often than not inaccessible to the poor. So however, it is worth taking note that of what the Aquino's administration has done in its 5 years of governance with regard to classroom building. The number of classrooms built from 2005 to the first half of the year 2010 has tripled. So additionally, the number of classrooms that were put up for the year 2010 to February 2015 was recorded to be 86,000. So significantly, exceedingly, 17,305 classrooms that were built from 2005 to 2010. So in President Aquino's fourth state on the national address in Isona, he spoke of the government's achievement of zero backlog in facilities, such as classrooms, desks and chairs, and textbooks. So which has addressed the gap in the shortages of teachers with 56,085 new teachers for the 61,000 teaching items in the year 2013. However, the data gathered by the Department of Education shows that during the opening of the classes from June 2013, the shortages in the classroom was page at least 19 million I mean. So 2.5 million shortages with regard to chairs and 80,000 for the sanitation facilities. Furthermore, 770 schools in the Metro Manila and Cebu and Davao were considered overcrowded. So the Department of Education also released data stating that 91% to 61,510 shortages in teachers was filed up alongside appointments are being processed. So another part is the issues regarding the K-12. There is dispute with regard to the quality of education provided by the system. In the year 2014, the National Achievement Test and the National Career Assessment Examination (NCAE) results show that there had been a decline the quality of Philippine education at the elementary and secondary levels. So the students' performance in both the 2014 NAT and NCAE were excessively below the target mean score. Having said this, so the poor quality of Philippine educational system is manifested in the comparison of completion of rates between the urbanized city of Metro Manila, and which is also happens in the country's capital for the largest metropolitan area in the Philippines and other places in the country such as Mindanao and the Eastern Visayas. So that's all for this afternoon and for this evening, and thank you very much for listening on this issue about the K-12 system. So this K-12 system must be reassessed for the good also of the Filipino people and the Filipino educators. Thank you.